Helping today's entrepreneurs stay on top of the latest digital marketing trends. I'm David Bain, and this is Digital Marketing Radio, episode 143, How to Attract and Engage Email Subscribers.
DigitalMarketingRadio.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by AWeber. Build your email list, engage your subscribers, do email the right way. I've arranged a special deal for all Digital Marketing Radio listeners, and that's a 60-day free trial with the email marketing software provider I use, AWeber. Lock in your 60-day free trial, plus view a video that I've recorded on the 3 reasons why I use their service at aweber.com/DMR. So just go to aweber.com/DMR to get started today.
The big interview with David Bain.
Well, I'm joined today by someone who moved from project management to educating and communicating the value of email marketing to digital marketers, entrepreneurs, and content creators everywhere. Welcome to DMR, Tom Tate.
Hey, how are you, David? Happy to be here.
Very good, thanks. Yeah, great to have you on here. Well, Tom is a product marketing manager at AWeber.com. So, Tom, how would you compare the value of email marketing compared with other forms of digital marketing?
So I think, and let me actually backtrack. I believe, that the value is exponentially larger with email marketing because you're building your audience on something that you own, right? So I've heard a lot of people mention this. So it might be a bit of a cliche, but, don't build your house on rented land. So you can definitely find your audience on things like social networks like Facebook, Twitter, Medium, all these very strong networks that you can go out and you can participate in conversations, right? And you can get followers, and that's certainly a very attractive thing. You can gain influence and authority, and you can convert those followers into paying customers, paying subscribers, whatever it is that your business model is. That's all very possible. But as soon as Facebook, it goes and changes an algorithm or makes you pay more for something, it could really jeopardize your business model and the relationships that you work to build. Twitter today is kind of being discussed as, what is the future of Twitter? So if you spent the past couple of years building your audience on Twitter, and now you're kind of at that crossroads trying to consider, is Twitter the right platform for me? You have to really think about the amount of time that you invested, in building your space in someone else's platform, right? With email, of course, you're going to be using a service provider that you don't necessarily own, but you're going to be building those relationships on a one-to-one basis, between you and the subscriber, and that list that you're going to be growing is something that you will own, like you can take that with you. And those relationships, you really can't replace that. So that's why I think the value is just incredibly large with email.
Great advice, great advice. And it's funny because you see a platform and perhaps everyone's engaging on it at that moment in time, and you think, well, nothing will ever happen to this. But of course, a couple of years down the line is very hard to predict. And unless you're in control of how you communicate with your audience, it can suddenly be taken away from you. And that is a scary thing, certainly for anyone that's happened to them. I remember a few years ago, perhaps Google removed the right to have YouTube channels for certain users, and perhaps users had built up thousands and thousands of subscribers to their YouTube channels. And the same can happen with Facebook, or did happen with Facebook, and the sudden reduction in organic reach. So wonderful advice, yeah. But is it actually appropriate for every single type of business to build a list, do you think?
I do, right? Because with business, typically there's a human being on the other end that's going to be fueling your business, right? So typically, whether you sell a product or a service, it's going to be a person on the other end that's going to be purchasing your product or your service. And I think that, the best way to just keep that person engaged with you and your brand and building a personal relationship is email, because I've yet to meet a person, over the age of 15 who doesn't spend a day, at least once a day, checking their inbox. So it is a place where people rely on getting information. some people check their inbox 50, 60 times a day. You know what I mean? With your mobile device always being 5 feet away from you at all times, it is a great way to just have that one-to-one connection. Absolutely. So I think no matter what type of business you're in, if you think about the human being on the other end of your business, that person is using email, and there's always probably a use case, that you can interact with them for sure.
It's funny, people were saying a long time ago, maybe 2007 or so, well, social media is going to be the new email. It's going to be the new form of communication. But it's a different form of communication, but it certainly hasn't replaced it. But even looking into the future, I know it's very difficult in digital media to look,
Sure.
say, 5 years into the future, but you don't see email changing significantly at all.
The importance of email, I do not see changing significantly. I'm hoping, because I'm an email nerd, I'm an email fanatic, I'm hoping that the technology changes so that you can do more with email, of course. But I don't think that the one-to-one connection between a marketer and a consumer or a human being on the other end on the inbox, that connection that is made initially with email and continued through email, I don't see that necessarily changing. And, just to go on the record, I love social media. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with social media. I think it's changing the way that we communicate with each other. I just find that the platforms that come and go, they serve specific purposes, and they're not as stable, right? Snapchat, Anchor, Peach, there's all these new ones that are just popping up immediately. And you have to kind of get in there, dip your toes in, figure it out. Whereas email, it's been around for a very long time. People have a strong understanding of what it is. I just don't really see that specifically, the dynamic changing so much. But technology-wise, I mean, how awesome would it be to be able to make a purchase directly from an email? Both from a consumer side and a marketer side, click a button and have that process the entire purchase, not just take you to a website where you have to follow up with extra steps. Like, I would love to see that type of technology come to fruition.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure it will do. I mean, it was incredible. It was a long time ago that PayPal made it possible for you to send a payment to an email address. And I couldn't actually envisage at the time, whenever it was back in about the year 2000 or so, how that actually works. But it works effectively. And I guess there's many other technologies that could be associated with email that has yet to be invented, and that's exciting.
Email design, email design standards. There's just a lot of cool things. Interactivity in email. It's just an exciting time to be an email marketer, because it's something that has shown that it has staying power and that it has a proven ROI, but it's still moving in new directions all the time.
So one of the continual debates is probably, is it right to actually ask for as many fields as information from your prospects to begin with, to actually try and get that detail from them? Or is it sometimes more effectively to get a higher opt-in conversion rate and only ask for an email address? What are your thoughts on that one, Tom?
It depends. So we had a conference last October, the Ascend Summit, and Ollie Gardner from Unbounce spoke at that. And he was talking about conversion rate optimization, specifically for capturing leads. And if anyone has followed Ollie, he's a genius in that space. And he kind of showed a graph where the opt-ins actually leveled off at a certain point after, I believe it was 1 to 4 fields. Form fields was pretty strong, and then 4 to don't quote me on this, but it was like 4 to 9 or 4 to 10 fields is when it dropped off. But then once you went from like 10 to 15, it went up again. So it was really interesting, his research and his data. But my philosophy on that is you can use your form fields to qualify your leads, right? So it really depends on the strategy that you're after. If you want quantity, then sure, you're going to want to reduce resistance to opt-in. You're going to want to just stick with either email address or name an email address. But if you want quality leads, on your list, and that's part of your strategy. Is you don't want necessarily just as many as you can get. You want people who are going to be qualified buyers or qualified to use your service, or give you enough information so that you can follow up directly. I would definitely test getting more information at that opt-in point because it's always easier to get it then than to try to get it later, right?
Right.
It depends on your strategy. If you're just getting started, it's definitely attractive to get as many as you can, which makes sense if you just want email address. I always like to ask for at least first name because I'm a huge fan of using personalization in email. So if you don't ask for that, you can't use first name, in the subject or in the body of the email. So first name email, I think, is a great start. And another tip too is if you plan on sending, emails. So if you plan on sending email during, someone's business hours, in the form field for email address, if you ask for business email address, you'll increase the likelihood that you're going to be reaching that person in a business setting, right? So if someone gives their personal address and you're really trying to move them down a conversion funnel to make a business purchasing decision, having their personal email address is not going to be very helpful. They might be checking that outside of work hours, right? So being very careful with the form field labels is another interesting way to test quality.
And if you ask for business email address, are people likely to actually listen to that and give you their business email address?
Yeah, so that was another tip from Ali, and he said that he actually saw an increase in leads, right? So the fact that you were just asking for a business email address might have even given himself more credibility there, right? Like he didn't want your personal email address. He wasn't going to, bombard your personal inbox. Like he positioned himself transparently as wanting your business email address so that he can start a business relationship, right? Email is all about starting relationships. So I think that by saying business email address, you're positioning yourself as someone who's ready to engage in a business relationship. You may get some personal email addresses in there, but for the most part, I think it's a really good tactic to qualify your leads, for sure.
Okay, and you mentioned up to 4 fields, you don't see a massive reduction in the opt-in rate that you actually see from new subscribers. Does that depend on the actual fields that you have as well, though? I mean, I would imagine that if you ask for first name, last name, an email, and maybe something else, you might have a reasonable opt-in rate. But if you had telephone number, I would have thought that telephone number, people are a little bit more reticent to give that. Do you know if that's the case?
I'm sure that's the case. So again, that was Ali's data that he showed at this conference, the presentation he gave. And I am always hesitant whenever I appear on a podcast or whenever I, engage in a blab or a Google Hangout. I'm always hesitant to just throw out email marketing statistics because every email marketing campaign, every opt-in form conversion rate, all that stuff is going to vary so much based on the industry, based on the amount of traffic your site gets. But one of the things that I see the most, having the most impact on something like that would be what's your offer, right? So if you're giving a very high value webinar with a huge influencer in a specific space, right? You can probably ask for phone number and credit card information. You know what I mean? Like if it's a really strong offer, you can definitely ask for more personal qualifiers and not see a huge drop because what you're offering in return is so valuable. If you're just saying, sign up for my weekly newsletter for tips and tricks, which is a very casual offer, you're not really offering anything tangible immediately. You probably are going to see diminishing returns when you start asking for first name, last name, email address, phone number, business website address. You know what I mean? Like once you start asking for more things, drop downs, radio buttons, you're creating resistance that doesn't necessarily equal that offer, right?
But for a business to business type scenario, it's potentially a good negative qualifier, and you'll get less irrelevant people signing up to whatever actually you're trying to offer them. And if you have 7 or 8 different fields, then perhaps it's a good way to actually.
It is. It's a good way to capture the most serious prospects. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And getting a
separate the wheat from the chaff. That's what I was thinking of as a phrase. Yeah.
Oh, and also to yes, definitely, and also to add on to that too. Don't ask for a phone number if you never plan on using it, right?
Yeah.
So don't ask for information that you don't plan on using. If you are going to ask for a phone number, I'm assuming you're going to do it so that you can follow up directly with your leads over the phone and connect regarding your business. But I always tend to recommend that people only ask for the information that they plan on using. Even if they plan on using something a little later in their strategy, that's okay. But definitely be considerate of how you're going to use the data that you're asking for.
Great advice. So someone's actually taken the time to actually build up their email list. They're quite happy with the email list that they've got, perhaps. You could always have more, but it's good to have a fairly decent email list. What are some of the more effective ways to actually get your subscribers to open and engage with your emails? Because you hear a lot of stories now that open rates are decreasing, the actual reading of your emails are decreasing. Is that the case? And is it possible to actually improve that?
It's definitely possible to improve, and I think one of my favorite tips for improving open rates, it's a strategy that if you've ever heard of Derek Halpern from Social Triggers, Derek Halpern talks about the information gap, and if you want to Google that phrase and Derek Halpern's name, you'll pull up his kind of primary blog article about it. But it's a great strategy where you mention just enough information that signifies there's more in the email to play off of people's curiosity, right? So you won't believe this one strategy that 10x'd my ROI, or you won't believe what happened to me yesterday. You know what I mean? So like you insinuate that there's so much more in the email that you're just drawing on people's genuine curiosity. Like that's a really good strategy that I like, and I've seen a lot of success with that. Another thing that I've been experimenting with, and there's mixed opinions on this, so I absolutely recommend you test it, and it's not going to work with all brands, so it really needs to complement your brand, and that's using emojis in the subject line. Again, like it is something that you absolutely need to test. But I've been having great success using the coffee emoji in my subject lines for my personal email list, and I've seen some significant lifts in open rates just by using an emoji. Because another thing that I found too is if you use 1 or 2 emojis in the beginning of your subject line, even if they don't register on every email client, it kind of indents the subject line a little bit because they just show up as blank spaces. And I think just the nature of having your subject line indented a little bit helps it stand out amongst the full list of emails in somebody's.
What about the length of email?
Oh, the actual length of the email itself?
Yes, I mean, generally...
Or the subject line?
The actual email itself, because I mean, generally I've found that fairly short emails can result in quite high conversion in terms of click-throughs, but perhaps that's not what you're looking for people to do all the time. You might just be looking to educate them, of course. So have you done many tests on whether shorter or longer emails in general are more effective?
Yes. So we actually just wrote a blog post on the AWeber blog about how long should your emails be, because that's a question that we hear not just from beginners who are just getting started in email marketing, but kind of veterans who have been doing it for a long time. A lot of people want to know what's the recommended length of an email. And it's a really cheap answer, but the cheap answer is that it depends, because it really depends on what your strategy is. So if your strategy is to drive traffic to your site, say that you're a blogger and you want to drive traffic to your site because that's where all the action happens, right? That's where people are commenting. That's where people are converting. If you sell additional products or services, you might want to tease your post and then have a link to read more or finish the post. So your email is really just a teaser. And then you just want to push your traffic to your site because that's where the optimal experience is. And that's where conversions are happening. If, like you said, your goal is just to educate, you can probably accomplish that in just the email. So it might make sense to try to have a mid-length or lengthier email. So for us specifically at AWeber, if a prospect, someone who's interested in AWeber as a platform, signs up, we will send a automated follow-up series of information about AWeber, where we're really just going to be explaining the features of the product and the value of email marketing in the email. There's no additional properties we want to send the traffic to other than, a point of conversion on the site. So we do the majority of the education in the email itself, and we find that's pretty effective. And then the call to action in the email is just to sign up for your trial. So that's a really good way. In my personal email marketing campaigns, I love lengthy emails, but my goal is just to create relationships and to educate and inspire the people who subscribe to my list. So I'll take as much real estate as needed in that email until people start clamoring that it's too long, right?
And what about frequency of emails as well? Is there an optimum frequency in terms of one every couple of days or something like that? Or is the answer it depends on that as well?
Well, I definitely think that the optimal frequency is going to depend on your subscribers. And I think that kind of brings up a great point. You really need to respect and think about and consider your subscribers on the other end, right? They are human beings. So you don't want to email them 2-3 times a day, because that's probably going to get annoying for them, right? The best recommendation I have for that is set the expectation of what the frequency is going to be up front. So a great place to do this is the confirmation page or the thank you page when someone signs up for your email address. So you can say, thank you so much for signing up for my list. You can expect to hear from me, once a week. I send a Sunday digest, or every Tuesday and Thursday, or what have you. We've recently started doing automated email courses. So we have a what to write in your emails email course, and we say up front that this course is going to be delivered once a day for 5 days. Right. So people know they're going to receive, when they sign up, they know they're going to receive an email once a day for 5 days. So I think that transparency and just being very open about frequency is the best bet. And then another great way to try to get a sense of, how frequent or how infrequent should you be sending is, if you have a sizable list, send an occasional survey, or just have a link at the bottom of certain surveys, or at the bottom of certain emails, so that people can optionally take a survey. And that could be one of the questions, am I sending email too frequently or infrequently? And, your readers will give you honest feedback, and you can pivot and kind of adapt to that.
Well, coming up, we're going to be learning about the one piece of software that Tom couldn't live without. But first of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to Alex Tachlova. Alex was actually a guest on episode 115 of Digital Marketing Radio, and she's recently published a blog post summarizing all the 2016 marketing predictions that my 54 guests shared on the Christmas Digital Marketing Radio special show. And she's actually included predictions from 30 other experts. So she's produced a blog post with tips and predictions from 80 different digital marketing experts. So if you'd like to check that out, I'm sure there's a link. I'll include a link to that in the show notes of this very episode. That's episode 143 of Digital Marketing Radio. So find that over, of course, at www.digitalmarketingradio.com. But let's segue into the second section of our discussion, and that focuses more on Tom's thoughts on where digital marketing's been and where it's heading. So starting off with
software I couldn't live without.
So Tom, what software do you currently use in your business, apart from AWeber, that if someone took away from you would significantly impact your marketing success?
So my answer to this is actually something that is getting taken away from me, and that is Mozilla Thunderbird, which is an email client. So it's what I use to manage my inbox. and it's no longer going to be supported. So I'm pretty concerned. I've been using this for about 5 years, and it's kind of my GTD, kind of get things done method of just kind of managing my inbox. So when that goes away, I'm going to need a new solution.
And no thoughts on what that might be at this stage?
I'm worried about it, I'll be honest, but no thoughts yet.
Okay, well, here's a slightly more challenging question. What piece of software don't you use, but you've heard good things about, and you intend to try at some point in the near future?
This isn't necessarily a piece of software per se, but I'm hearing a lot of good things about Snapchat, and I'm not on Snapchat. So I'm very interested in trying to understand Snapchat as a marketer, right?
Yes, I'm right there with you actually, because I've registered on there, a couple of different brand names on there, and used it a little bit and went, not too sure how I'm going to use this. I'll have to think about it a little bit more before I actually give it a serious go.
Awesome.
So, okay, great. Okay, we'll include links to those two resources that you mentioned in the show notes, but moving straight on to...
I wish I would have.
So I'd like you to look back at the very first day that you're involved in trying to market a business online. What didn't you do so well? What do you wish that you would have done differently?
Well, I didn't have an email strategy. So that's kind of a cheap answer because I'm in email marketing, but I did not have an email strategy. It just wasn't something on my radar. So driving traffic to various properties online, like blogs and just websites that I've worked on in the past, not capturing that traffic. Just letting that traffic. There's so much you can do now with retargeting. And just having Facebook pixel on your page or on your site. There's a lot you can do to kind of recapture that traffic. But yeah, I just wasn't doing any of that. It was just hoping that they would come back.
Is Facebook retargeting the most important retargeting at the moment?
I absolutely think it is. Yes, definitely.
Okay. Well, I'm moving on to
the this or that round.
So this is the quick response round. 10 quick questions here. Just 2 rows. Try not to think about the answer too much, and you're only going to say the word both on one occasion. So Okay, let's get going.
Awesome.
Email or Twitter?
Both.
Ooh. Audio or video?
Audio.
Affiliates or display advertising?
Affiliates.
Facebook or Google+?
Facebook.
Online press releases or one-on-one relations?
One-on-one relations.
Paid search or SEO?
SEO.
Email contact form or telephone number?
Email contact form.
Website or app?
Website.
Social subscriber or email subscriber?
Email subscriber.
And local marketing or global marketing?
Global marketing.
I don't think I've heard anyone use their both on the very first question before, so there's a first for you.
That was a curveball too, because I bet a lot of people will expect me to just default to email, but...
Yes, primarily it has been email, but you still view Twitter as being quite important, even though I think you said it towards the start, Twitter was perhaps questionable to spend too much time on.
I think that Twitter is a great way to build your email list.
Right.
So, yes, so I think that Twitter and Facebook especially, 2 awesome platforms to drive new traffic to your email list. So I think they can live kind of symbiotically.
The $10,000 question.
If I was to give you $10,000 and you had to spend it over the next few days on a single thing to grow your business, what would you spend it on, and how would you measure success?
I would spend it on research and development for new products.
Okay. Research and development, would that mean employing someone or researching technology yourself somehow?
It would probably be a combination of both. So probably be research myself on what can I build, or what can I employ someone to build that's going to provide a massive amount of value to my customers or my following.
Okay, so your customers, you're not necessarily looking to enter a new market at all? You're probably looking to augment something that you do already.
Yeah, so I would absolutely take that money and spend it on something that's going to provide direct value to customers, and then get that out through organic channels, or through social.
And I take it you'd maybe survey your customers first of all to see what they were looking for and actually build that product based on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would start with a small test, and I would definitely, we use the MVP model, minimum viable products, so that you can test small, and just get validation that it's going to be of value to your tribe. But I always find that the best marketing is a fantastic product, because fantastic products market themselves. So if we can, if I can invest that money into something that's going to provide a ridiculous amount of value, then I think that it would grow organically through word of mouth.
Absolutely. The quickest way to kill a bad product is good marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
My number one takeaway.
Well, Tom, you've offered a lot of great advice in our conversation, but what's the number one takeaway? What's the single most important step that our listeners need to take away and implement in their businesses?
Most important thing, and I don't want to make this sound like just a overt pitch for email marketing, but I just want to reiterate that there are people out there, human beings, who would love to hear from you. You, as a small business owner, entrepreneur, a marketer, you have an authentic, original voice. So I would say find that voice. Even if you're not a great writer, just start working on building out that authenticity and that voice, and finding ways to connect with people through email, because it's so rewarding. Because I find that with email, you get immediate results. And one email response to a broadcast that you send where someone just says something as simple as, "Hey, you made my day." Or I never thought of it that way, and you're really going to change the way that I work, or just any validation in what you do for a profession or as your calling. When that comes from a human being, and it's not just a Twitter favorite, that's a really great feeling, and it really validates that you're doing the right things in your business or beyond. So I would absolutely say start building your email list, but don't think about it in terms of quantity. Just think about it in terms of building one-on-one relationships with people who absolutely want to hear from you.
Absolutely. A real tweet reply or a real email, actually, in response to something that you've done is something that means a lot, I'm sure, to just about everyone out there.
Definitely.
Wonderful. Okay, well, that takes us to the end of our discussion today. So Thank you so much for your time and your advice.
Thank you.
What's the best way for our audience to find out more about you and what you do?
You can follow me on Twitter. It's @TNRT. If you want to sign up for my personal email list, you can go to weekly.coffee. And the interesting thing there is every week I give away a $5 Starbucks gift card to a random subscriber. So that's my incentive, right? That's my incentive to get people to join. But my weekly.coffee email list is weekly productivity tips and motivational, just tactics to stay motivated, so that you can continue to build your business and build your calling. And that a lot of that comes from my project management roots and just being very mindful of getting things done and seeing results. But that's a great way to get to know me. And if you want to get to know AWeber, I know David gave the pitch in the beginning, but you can check out AWeber.com. And you can check out our email marketing platform. And we're doing a lot of awesome things with email automation this year, and we're really excited for that.
I've just been to your website address there, and I didn't even realize that
.coffee
was a proper domain name, but it's certainly
it's there. Yep,
it's there. It works. I can confirm it to everyone. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, wonderful stuff. So thanks to Tom, and thank you to your listener too. And if you like what Tom shared today, here's how you can help. Go to your friend's iPhone, go to the podcast app, and search for Digital Marketing Radio. Then click on the show and hit the subscribe button and make them listen too. Finally, I'm also hosting another live show every Friday called This Week in Organic. So head over to thisweekinorganic.com to find out more about that. But that's all for now. Until we meet again, adios, and Thank you again, Tom. Great stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much.